大家好，我是饿了么大兵磊。
Hello everyone. I haven't updated any content these past few days, mainly because I'm just so exhausted. There's no end to the work from morning till night. Honestly, I'm so tired, my whole back aches. And when I lie down, I don't want to move at all. It's exhausting. This is the supply load we unloaded today. It's tough work, and soon I still have to go clean out the latrine. Being on the front lines isn't as tiring, but it's dangerous. Here, it's not dangerous, but it's definitely exhausting. There's endless miscellaneous work. After unloading the truck, I still have to go back to clean the latrine. The latrine has to be cleared down to 2 meters deep. I got down to 1.3 meters, but they said it's still not enough, insisting it has to be 2 meters. They issued me a gun. Well, what's the point of carrying it here? There's no danger here. I'm just doing odd jobs all day, but I'm exhausted. I already have lung problems, and now I even have to wear a mask because the dust from cleaning the latrine is so bad.
Do you remember this Chinese mercenary? Previously featured in our program. He's the food delivery driver who wore out after walking only a few kilometers. He originally thought becoming a mercenary would be an opportunity to use firearms and earn a fee for the experience. However, after receiving a rifle, he lost interest in fighting. Instead, he found himself assigned to latrine duty, which drained his strength entirely. In reality, he may not realize how fortunate he is to be alive. If he were aware of the grim secrets surrounding other mercenaries, he might have already broken down. Should he become too weak to handle even latrine work, his situation could turn dire, as being deemed useless may lead to his sudden disappearance. Next, we turn to a Chinese veteran named Wu Ming. He joined the Russian mercenary forces but returned to China empty-handed, unpaid after 6 months of service. Tricked by Russian authorities onto a flight back to China, he only learned of his dismal upon arrival, quickly becoming a figure of online ridicule.
Can you believe it? A great nation like Russia actually deceived me. To trick me into coming back to China, they came up with all kinds of lies. They manipulated me, got me to leave Moscow for China, and then handed me a termination contract right after I got off the plane. I never imagined something like this would happen. Please, everyone, tell me, what should I do?
Since Wu Ming returned to his hometown in Shanxi province at the end of last year, he has encountered even more bizarre events.
These are the people responsible for holding me under house arrest, representing the criminal forces from Shaoyi City, Shanxi province. I'm asking my fellow comrades and people all over the world to stand up for me. My name is Wu Ming, from Shaoyi City in Shanxi province. I've served in the military 3 times. These people are from the local criminal forces, and they're illegally detaining me, following me wherever I go. They're all connected to the Shanxi provincial public security system. I have no way out. If I ever disappear, please stand up for me and make Shaoyi City in Shanxi province a trending topic.
In a video message, this mercenary claimed that his hometown's police station chief was involved in orchestrating plans to forcibly return him from Beijing to his hometown, aiming to detain him indefinitely. Local police, whom he referred to as part of the criminal underworld, were allegedly hesitant to act during the day in Beijing. They had, however, discussed luring him out at night or even abducting him directly into a car to transfer him back to Shaoyi City in Shanxi province. Wu Ming stated he had shared a video with 6 of his fellow veterans, instructing them to release it publicly should he encounter harm or lose contact. Some sources indicate that Wu and his comrades were among the first to join Russian forces, with Wu possibly not fitting the standard definition of a mercenary. Instead, it is believed he was dispatched by the Chinese government as a contractor soldier via an intermediary. Unlike traditional mercenaries, he joined as a retired Chinese military personnel under government arrangements. When he was tricked into returning to China after his service and without pay, he went to Beijing to seek justice. However, Beijing authorities took no action, instructing local police from his registered area to handle the matter, which led to the initial incident described. As there are other contractor soldiers in similar situations, Wu has kept a live stream open, which may have helped in preventing authorities from acting publicly against him. This video only recently surfaced, suggesting that Wu Ming's negotiation with authorities have failed and he has received no compensation. He has most likely disappeared, as he previously indicated his comrades will release a video if he were to go missing. These government dispatch contractor soldiers would be a burden and a liability for authorities, especially since Russia failed to pay their wages, complicating matters further. Even if authorities were to compensate them, they might worry about the soldiers revealing the truth later, making their disappearance almost inevitable. As a result, we now see that all Chinese personnel appearing on live streams from the Russian-Ukraine frontline are framed as acting independently according to the ununified narrative of the Chinese authorities. However, in China, it's very well understood that without government permission and support, it's unlikely that individuals without influential backgrounds could make their way to Russia as a combatant. Once on the battlefield, most mercenaries rarely return. Even if they survive the front lines, these individuals, now equipped with combat experience and access to uncensored information outside China's Great Firewall, would be seen as a major threat if they returned. Thus, Chinese authorities appear intent on ensuring these mercenaries are consumed by the conflict in Russia, making it unlikely for them to ever return.
I
hope my honest message can calm down the pro-Russia crowd back home. They don't believe me. Why do I say I'm just cannon fodder? Because I didn't know I'd be treated like this before coming here. If you don't respect me, why should I risk my life for you? Since arriving at the training camp in Rostov, I faced severe racial discrimination. They discriminate against black people, against Chinese, so why should I be loyal to them? I came with good intentions to support their military, but they treat me like a cheap laborer or a beggar. Why should I respect them? Do they think I'm here just for a bit of cash? At the base, it's constant work. Only the foreigners work, while the Russians don't have to lift a finger. You never get a break. If you're idle, they'll find something for you to do. I'm a veteran, after all, and I've served in the Russian military for a while now. If you refuse, they make things difficult for you. They don't want you leaving here alive.
One mercenary claiming he fought for faith, not money, finally realized he was merely being used as cannon fodder. He appealed to fellow Chinese-Russian sympathizers and said that he was delusionized by Chinese state propaganda and asked them not to come to Russia. He now understands the secret deals between China and Russia, which were never meant to allow their survival. However, it was already too late. He paid a high price for this realization. Since North Korea deployed troops to the Russian-Ukraine front, Russian President Vladimir Putin initially believed the situation was turning in his favor. However, Donald Trump's re-election to the U.S. presidency created waves on the global political stage, introducing new complexities to the Russian-Ukraine conflict. Reports from Chinese sources suggest Beijing's greatest fear is a Trump-led Russia coalition turning against China, potentially leaving China vulnerable to collapse. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Ministry Sergei Lavrov, in a November 5th interview, indicated that should the U.S. continue diplomatic relations, Russia would promptly appoint a new ambassador to the U.S. with necessary internal procedures already in motion. This statement could suggest that under certain conditions, Russia may sever ties with China. During an interview with the U.S. media on February 6, Putin hinted that Russia is not the West's main adversary, but that China poses a great threat, urging the West to focus its attention on Beijing instead of Moscow. After Trump's re-election as the 47th U.S. president, Putin congratulated him on November 7th, referencing Trump's resilience following an assassination attempt at a rally in July, describing him as a real man and expressing readiness for dialogue with the newly elected Republican leader. However, Putin then shifted his tone, describing China as a crucial ally to Russia. He emphasized that China has no intent to provoke conflict in the Taiwan Strait, subtly suggesting that Taiwan, like Ukraine, might seek external support by instigating tensions. How should we interpret Putin's stance? Are Russia and China truly united? Clues can be discerned from information emerging from Russia. Recently, a Russian foundation supporting retired intelligence officers released its 2025 calendar, featuring a cover illustration of Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping as muscle-bound men side by side. The image aims to highlight the ultimate friendship between the two nations, though some see hidden undertones. On the cover, Putin is depicted in a black, tight-fitting shirt, emblazoned with the Z symbol associated with Russian military expansionism, accentuating his muscular build. His sleeve displays a C symbolizing the Russian Federal Security Service FSB Special Operations Center. In contrast, Xi Jinping standing partially behind Putin appears more subdued. With a slight smile, he wears a dark blue shirt adorned with a golden dragon and the Chinese flag on his sleeve. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, China, while officially neutral, has supported Russia both politically and diplomatically, bolstering trade ties and helping Russia withstand Western economic sanctions. According to Chinese customs data, trade between the two countries reached $240 billion last year. While some analysts suggest Russia, the older brother, now plays a subordinate role to China, the calendar's portrayal of Putin suggests he still views himself as the dominant figure. The image subtly reflects Putin's frustration with his current standing and distrust towards Xi, his struggles to accept that his role as Russia's big brother has now been reduced to Xi's junior. This discontent stems from Xi's support of Russia during the war, while simultaneously refusing to enter a formal alliance, a stance that leaves Russia isolated. During Putin's second visit to China in 7 months on May 16, the two leaders, calling each other old friends, signed a joint declaration affirming a non-allied yet comprehensive strategic partnership. The statement emphasized cooperation in trade, energy, and technology while jointly criticizing the US for hegemonic practices. Putin was reportedly displeased with the outcome, viewing Xi's prior unlimited support as encouragement for his decision to invade Ukraine. Now, as the war drags on, Putin's brother has become a non-allied old friend. For his part, Xi reportedly feels Russia has failed his expectations for a swift resolution in Ukraine. He had anticipated that Russia's quick victory would offer China valuable insights and strengthen his ambitions. Instead, the war has exposed weaknesses in Russia's military, causing Xi to doubt the effectiveness of Chinese-made replicas of Russian weapons, all while China faces potential international sanctions for its support of Russia. In response to the non-allied friendship statement, the US State Department cautioned that China cannot have it both ways between Russia and the West, reiterating that China's indirect support of Russia's military operations is unacceptable. Beijing, wary of full-scale sanctions from the US and Europe, has reportedly taken measures to minimize its exposure, with Chinese firms curtailing exports to Russia and reducing transactions in yuan since March, aiming to avoid secondary sanctions from the Biden administration. Xi's cautious, ambitious stance has led Putin to view China as unreliable, believing that Xi could easily turn his back on Russia. As someone who understands the nature of communist regimes, Putin remains skeptical of China's commitment. Trust between Xi and Putin has always been tenacious at best. So, what can we infer from Putin's statement on November 7th? According to an anonymous Chinese analyst, Mr. Y, Putin's comments can be interpreted in two ways. Number one, Putin's remarks may be empty rhetoric as Russia and China are effective allies, with Chinese mercenaries fighting for Russia and Taiwanese volunteers siding with Ukraine. Russia and Taiwan are effectively in opposition on the battlefield. But why the rhetoric? It could be a message for Trump. Putin understands one of Trump's priorities, if re-elected, will be ending the Russia-Ukraine war by bringing Taiwan into the bargaining arena. Putin strategically uses Taiwan as a pawn. Knowing Trump's commitment to Taiwan's defense, far from naive, Putin aims to use this as leverage. Number two, Putin's reiteration of support for China's Taiwan policy sends a significant message to Xi, hinting at a strategic shift. The implied meaning is, I have not met my objectives in Ukraine, but as long as China continues supporting Russia, Taiwan and Ukraine remain adversaries by association. If the day comes when I cannot sustain this war, Russia and Ukraine will no longer be enemies, and neither will Russia and Taiwan. In essence, Putin suggests that continued Chinese support is not a guaranteed path for Russia to persist in the war. Should China's backing prove insufficient for Russia's goal, Russia could reach a peace agreement with the US over Ukraine. At that point, Putin may abandon Xi, knowing that Xi in turn has kept his distance during Russia's most difficult moments. They were never true allies. Mr. Y suggests that Trump's re-election brings hope for Putin, offering an escape from the quagmire in Ukraine, albeit at a cost, a price preferable to an unending conflict. For Xi, however, Trump's return intensifies his already heightened sense of insecurity. If Russia ultimately aligns with the US, North Korea could also abandon China, with Kim Jong-un likely harboring even less trust in Xi than Putin. In the event of a split between China and Russia, Kim, a junior ally, would likely refuse to shield Xi. she and the Chinese Communist Party could find themselves isolated on the world stage. Recently, a student-led cycling event in Zhengzhou, Henan, has been classified as a political incident by Chinese authorities, who discovered that armed police joined the cyclist. What began as a patriotic leisure activity has quickly become an outlet for youth frustration. Although cycling has now been banned, students have begun replacing it with night runs, seemingly unstoppable. She perceives a significant threat in this movement, perhaps hoping that while the Russian-Ukraine war persists, he can redirect these restless, frustrated youth to the Russian front lines as expendable soldiers.